Well, welcome everyone. Welcome one and all. This is the EPM Partners hosted webinar about the MS Project Conference, recently held in Anaheim, USA. My name is Darren Deason. I'm a Senior Consultant at EPM Partners. I was fortunate enough to be able to attend this conference. It was held in Anaheim early this year, the start of February. And it's one conference I have been to this year. I've been to the two previous Microsoft Project conferences, both held in Phoenix. But again, this conference was fantastic to go to reconnect with the EPM community. We are but a small but very modest community, and I guess you could say we spent the week together paying homage to the Microsoft products that we have all known for quite some time. We've grown to love. Those products are obviously Project Server, and the new member of the family, Project Online. And I must say up front that these are my own subjective highlights of the conference. So if anyone else was to do a presentation like this, I'm sure it would be different every time. This conference itself had so much content, and the scope of the products that we use in our industry is just growing wider and wider by the year. So let's get into things. First of all, the agenda for today. We have, first of all, a conference overview. Then I'll talk about some of the discussion points in the keynote. We'll look at some session highlights. Now, I think there are almost 100 sessions to go through. We only had 3 days to attend those sessions, so what I've done is I've just picked my top half dozen. So we'll go through those. Then also, for those of you who haven't been to a conference before, a Microsoft conference locally or globally, there's typically an exhibit hall, and at the exhibit hall there's many vendors showing their wares, so to speak, at their booths. So I've picked a few of the highlights at the booths as well. So some of these are products that exist currently and are on the market, and also some that are upcoming as well. And then finally, time permitting, we'll look at, we'll see if there's any questions. Now, I'll try and keep things lighthearted today because, let's face it, project management is quite a dry topic at the best of times. So I thought I'd take a quick poll to begin with. So that is, first of all, I am presenting out of our South Melbourne office at EPM Partners, and my office where I am right now is right near the kitchen. So let's just guess how many times we hear the coffee grinder in the background. Just consider that it's just around lunchtime, so people do need their caffeine fix. And also, I am in South Melbourne, and it is an area known quite well for its fine coffee and the coffee shops below in the street. So anyway, I'll put the poll up now, and we'll see how we go. So who thinks we will never hear it? We'll hear it a few times, or you can't hear me right now because grinding coffee is filling the airwaves. All right, half and half. Leave it open for just a moment longer. This is also in an effort to make sure that I am not just talking to myself, and there are some people out there. It's quite strange doing a webinar with no immediate feedback or questions. Anyway, all right, great. Let's close the poll. We're pretty divided here. We'll either won't hear it or just a few times. Cool. So the project conference, what a conference it was, held in the great city of Anaheim in LA. The theme for the conference was Think Big. So that sort of resonated through most of the sessions. There were some big announcements at the keynote, and I'll go through those shortly. And it was a very enjoyable conference, and I urge anyone who's in the industry, either a customer using the product or a consultant who's involved with deploying the product, or anyone involved at all with project management, best practices, and so on. It's a great conference, obviously highlighting the Microsoft product set, but also there's many content sessions that go through business-related content as well. So at every conference we always get our usual lanyard that is a free access to most areas of the facilities. And also, importantly, there was, as soon as you register, you get access to the My PC or My Project Conference website. And on here, there's typically all the sessions listed, the speakers, some information about those speakers in detail. And at this particular conference, there's 100 sessions, and we need to try and divide our time on what sessions we want to see over what days. And sometimes it's like choosing your favorite child. There's conflicting sessions at the same time, and fortunately on this site also is all the videos that have been prepared or taken during the sessions. They're all uploaded for offline viewing after the conference. I believe this is only an attendee accessible area, but yes, the recommendation is out there. If you have an opportunity to attend one of these conferences, they are a lot of fun and also very informative. All right, so first off was the keynote. We had 3 main speakers deliver their words for us. We had Sajan, he's the Microsoft Product Group Manager. He gave the opening address. We had Jared, business keynote speaker. He's also the General Manager of Microsoft Office, and also Ludovic, he did the product keynote. And he's been involved with the project family for quite some time, and currently Director of Development Office Platform, Access and Project. What was disclosed was that this year there were 40 countries represented from 1,200 plus attendees. That is quite a good footprint our EPM community has across the world. There was also a reflection on where the product has come from. In 2003, I was first introduced to Project Server. I had been using the desktop products for many years prior to that, but just seeing the evolution of Project Server as a product over the last decade has been quite astounding. 2007 obviously was a big release. 2010 had a further large release with the introduction of demand management and workflow being introduced into the portfolio, the project set, and also we had the portfolio toolset introduced. And then most recently in 2013 we had the launch of the cloud offering that Microsoft have, which is known as Project Online. Also some minor improvements as well to Project Server with the 2013 release. So that was a bit of a reflection on where we've come and where we are now, but also of note was the future investment areas Microsoft have, and there is some fine print on this slide that was up on display, and that is that this is open to change, Microsoft discretion, but at this point in time they're looking at 4 main areas of investment. First of all, there's the obvious cloud investment area, so we're looking at faster releases to market, focusing on Project Online, and also investment in the app platform. One of the highlights, the session highlights I discussed a little bit later on, is around the app environment and how it's is starting to explode in a good sense in the project world. Also tied in with obviously the success of SharePoint as well. But SharePoint being the host of apps in the future for the project server environment. There's a lot of initiatives from different vendors, and there's a lot of interest across customer land as well. Second of all, there's devices. And what was refreshing at this conference was there was many droppings of the A word and the G word, Apple and Google. And there is now an acknowledgement that these are competitors that have products, they have services that need to be embraced by enterprises, as well as obviously all the goodness of Microsoft. Now, the pervasive nature of the software needs to be across devices now, cross-platform with data accessible from anywhere. There was also the mention that there's a major focus on resource management in the future, and we'll see more functionality in the product set going forward around resource engagement on projects, on work items, risk and issue management. Also capacity management as well, so we're looking at that ongoing challenge between supply and demand. What resources do you have in your organization, and what demand is currently being asked for from projects, and make sure we get that right. And then finally, the enterprise focus. We're looking at further improvements in enterprise reporting. The acknowledgement again that there's going to be probably a lot of hybrid deployments in the future, so mixing the public cloud versus the private cloud. Private cloud meaning local infrastructure, running your own enterprises or your own private internal cloud. And then also the main business applications of SharePoint Server, Project Server and so on, now drawing in data from other sources around the business enterprise landscape, ERP systems, finance systems, CRM systems and so on. So that's a very encouraging sign Microsoft is putting forward in this product set. Now what was also mentioned was, well, first of all, a reminder of the Project Online pricing during I think it was the business keynote. Now these prices here are mentioned in US dollars. So we have the Project Online PWA equivalent license. So this is a person per user per month cost, and with this cost up front we have the ability to get into business intelligence, demand management, pretty much all the features of the Project Server offering, or the Project Online offering I should say. Now that doesn't sit very well with the team member role typically that doesn't need to have access to all those additional areas. So what Microsoft have released, or about to release, is Project Lite, a Project Lite license. They're launching this in May, and that brings the price point down to $7 per user per month, much more appealing to enterprises with lots of team member type role individuals in their organization. Now this would then gravitate those team members at that lower price point to the project sites, and also the typical timesheet users. You enter your time each week, you edit tasks, update your tasks to project managers and so on. You may update your risk and issues that you own or assigned within project sites, but yeah, that was great news, and certainly speaking from the vendor side of things, deploying this and selling this into organizations will be, I think, a lot easier with that lower price point for what is often a large group of users. Next we have one of the slides that was brought up in the product keynote by Ludo around performance improvement in Project Server 2013 and Project Online. So architecturally, behind the scenes, performance improvements were made between the releases of 2010 and 2013, and looking at resource-centered timesheets, project schedule and homepage page load times, we've got those percentage increases in performance. So that's obviously a great thing, and I'm sure they'll be further improved in the future as well. I think the biggest news to come out of the keynotes was the announcement that Project Online will finally support SSRS, and that is SQL Server Reporting Services. This was one of the, I wouldn't say failings, but shortcomings of Project Online in the first six months of its life across the world, especially when a lot of organizations were so familiar with 2013 installed locally, or with another external service provider offering the full Project Server 2013 suite. But reporting, those custom enterprise reports built on reporting services, were not able to be easily transferred to the Project Online world. So that's changed now. So if we just go through this slowly building slide, first of all we have Project Online, and we have our Project Web App database. And this is typically hosted within an Office 365 cloud environment. Well, it is in the Office 365 cloud environment. What we need to do to accomplish this is spin up a local cloud. By that, it's local infrastructure. We need at least one server that's hosting SQL Server and, importantly, SQL Server integration services and SQL Server reporting services in native mode. We could also spin up SQL Server analysis services for OLAP time phase data, but at least we need to have a reporting server in our local cloud. The concept behind this then is on a scheduled basis, we'll use a package on the reporting server hosted locally to extract data from our Office 365 hosted project server database. This is scheduled, so this can happen as frequently as we need the data. So it can be near real time. It obviously will never be real time, but near real time could be once an hour, once every half an hour, or if the data isn't as critical, it could be once every day, so an overnight out of business hours scheduled job. And this is importantly using and achieved by the introduction of a new OData Datasource connection manager. Now with OData, that's exposing project data through XML and typical HTTP web server requests, and that then populates a local server database. Local reports then, again, SSRS in native mode can retrieve data from this local data store and then push this back out to Project Online. Now again, I just have to emphasize the point, this is only achieved through SSRS configured in native mode. And the Project Online would expose a native mode web part for SSRS and make reference to the local URL. Now the process isn't quite seamless because you might need some single sign-on auth product to bypass going across different domains, but the general model is there. It was demonstrated on stage during the keynote, and yeah, it was quite a well-received offering. So that's Project Online support for SSRS. And here we have just a screenshot of Visual Studio 2012 showing the new OData Connection Manager. So we'll just go for another quick poll, just to make sure you're still all attentive. Do you currently use Project Server 2013 or Project Online? Just let me know. Alright, so we're looking at, it's almost 50-50. So for this, the content of this session today, hopefully it's then quite appropriate for half the audience trying to go through the decision-making process whether or not it's going to add value to introduce Project Server 2013 or Project Online within your organization. And for the other half, hopefully it inspires you to maybe look further into the product set that you're already using, and we'll go from there. So that was the main few things that were mentioned during the keynotes. Now let's look at some of the session highlights. So first of all, every conference I like going along to the Gartner sessions, really to focus on industry trends. There's always great speakers with a lot of knowledge about the industry or across industries in general, but predominantly on the project and portfolio management tool sets. The great quote that was mentioned during the session was, doing what you've done successfully in the past will generally cause you to fail in the future. This quote resonates really well, the organization of today and the need to embrace change. This was mentioned throughout the session, and not just this session but many sessions, where we're facing a lot of change in our future. So the initiatives of these successful organizations around fostering innovation, always gaining or trying to gain competitive advantage, and also being the first to market. These all things require change, feed off change, and are driven by change. So yes, big drive through this whole conference is all around change management and accepting it, and not being afraid of it. So the value-driven future. What the speakers with Gartner were going through was most organizations are trying to bridge the gap between maturity level 2 and maturity level 3. Now, the maturity level is really the organization's ability to deal with project management, or first of all, maturity level 1 and 2 is about delivering consistency and process controls, and then the further maturity models levels are around the need to deliver innovation and continuous stream of value. There was the mention of value as a metric over more objective things like cost and so on. But certainly there's a chasm that's presented in most organisations, and 80% of PMOs currently out there globally are below level 3. So the maturing of project management tool sets and processes from the 90s compared to today is like portfolio management today and where it'll be in the future. Project management has developed and matured to a point where we've got some established tool sets, and a lot of organisations understand where they want to be, or where they are now and where they aspire to be. Portfolio management is the next push. That was certainly a big message through most sessions. So the PMO of the future, Gartner predict there'll be a portfolio office. We'll think and speak in the language of money. The PMO of the future will be consultative and analytical. Understand value and how the business can generate it. The PMO of the future can judge when an investment is going south before it's too late and not be afraid of any confrontation. Understand that projects and programs and products are complex adaptive systems and that uncertainty and possible failure are a normal part of the equation. And in regard as a trusted advisor and honest broker by everyone involved. So that was a great session. The next session I wouldn't mind bringing your attention to is one that was presented by Isabel and Dux Raymond. Now, you haven't seen especially Dux present in the past. He is a great presenter, really engages the audience, and thought it was always a lot of fun. So breaking bad project management and winning strategies for the PM, the PMO, and executives. So first of all, they went through in this session around analysing what is bad project management. So how do we identify a bad project manager? Well, first of all, there's things like an inefficient team collaboration position. So these project managers have just too much reliance on email, and in fact email is like a 1973 technology. There's untimely status updates, so mainly as a result of being too busy. Project managers can sometimes be double entering into many systems through efficiencies of organisations. Change management, so being an effective as a change manager. This obviously is continual scope creep in projects. Every project experiences these changes, and there just needs to be better ways to manage this change within projects. And also just inconsistent project management tools. In this age of being your own devices, we have Dropbox and Basecamp, different flavour tablets. The PMO is generally faced, or project managers are faced with a bumpy landscape of what tools to use when. Now, with a mention of Breaking Bad, we couldn't go without seeing a vision of the TV series, which I'm sure many of you know and love. But the PM is not alone in this Breaking Bad project management. The PMO is also a culprit. And often it's mainly because of too much process. So a PMO can be an enabler, but also it can be a tendency to be a burden if there is too much process included within day-to-day running of projects and delivery initiatives. Also, there's gathering project information. A PMO can ask for too much detail, or often sometimes not the right detail from the project managers. And also the PMO can be viewed as a second language. So governance, standards, terminology and processes are not communicated effectively. And many people these days without formal project management training have been asked to step up to be a project manager in the organisation. So there needs to be a clear and often needs to be a simple message to those new, fresh, green project managers on how this organisation does the task of delivering projects. So what are the winning strategies? We've identified what's wrong with the PM approach and the PMO approach. Well, there's three main areas that Dux and Isabel went through, and that was around trying to collaborate more efficiently, manage more effectively, and win consistently celebrate the wins was a very important thing. And also deliver project management on your terms. So around collaborating efficiently, we should by now have familiar tools we've been using for years. Use them to their best. Outlook, Word, OneNote, PowerPoint, Excel, Yammer, these are just to name a few. Obviously we have SharePoint and Project Server, which I'll go through shortly. These are tools that we should have our organizations integrate seamlessly. You can see the screenshot there. We've got link integration with Outlook, and in this case here, it's in fact Project Server. Use the tools as they were intended. Try in your own organizations, invest in the people to know this stuff, how to configure them, how to use them, how to get the most out of them, or reach out to vendors to assist you in that journey. Also, we need to facilitate the project manager on the go. These days, bring your own devices. We have the iPads, we have the Surface, we have phones, Android, iPhones, all these different operating systems. Software deployed these days that help project management need to be able to be deployed to all these devices so anyone, anytime, anywhere can access the data that we need to effectively manage the projects we deliver. Also, to manage effectively. So this is where we need to look at the tools that we use for the central management of projects. How do we assign resources to tasks? How do tasks roll up to reports? What are the things that we're measuring? Track the relevant metrics to provide feedback to our users as to how they're tracking on projects, or from a project manager to a resource, how they're tracking on individual tasks or work packages. That feedback loop is so important. Also, to gain better insights, let's look at the BI capabilities of Project and SharePoint. We have web part pages that we can fill with dashboard information from different data stores. These can be refreshed constantly. Also the portfolio analytics within the toolset to help us choose the right projects. Not so much deliver projects correctly, but at this stage choose the right projects to invest in for the organization. And finally, we need to win consistently and also manage projects on our own terms. So we might have a journey ahead of us of deploying Project Server or Project Online, or even just a series of Microsoft products that will fulfill our toolset needs within project management. We need to understand the roadmap, where we are today, where we want to be in the future, and have a strategic rollout of functionality to our users over time. So we might start with just simple project collaboration, then go through to schedule management. Once the whole team's on board, or our users are on board, we can then look at that feedback loop of reporting, and so on through the stream. What we're looking at hopefully in the future is other systems being integrated with our own system, and then looking at the demand management, supply and demand, and getting that full end-to-end capability. Now that's not right for every organization. Every organization needs champions internally to understand what's right, but certainly there's a journey to be had, and we need some thought up front and some planning up front to make sure we make the right decisions around what journey to take. And we need to celebrate our wins. All right, so next up we had I attended a session around best practices and what the company Lego is doing. Now, two of the representatives from Lego, Anne, Catherine and Jacob, had a very entertaining session. They described the journey they had ahead of them of getting their own organization up the CMMI maturity levels. What they went through was a whole series of facts up front which were quite interesting, and let's just have a quick look at those. A really interesting fact was that, did you know that by the year 2016 that the number of Lego minifigures will outnumber the number of people in the world? I thought that was a really interesting fact. They also built up things like the approximately 400 million minifigures were actually produced in 2012. Some of the other things were, on average, every person on Earth owns 86 Lego bricks. A very interesting thing was, because of the amount of vehicles Lego has, Lego is known as one of the world's largest tyre manufacturers, with 500 million tyres manufactured in 2012. 10 Lego sets are sold each second around the world. That is a staggering amount. And what's that number? 54, I think that's trillion bricks were molded in 2013. And the distance of those is quite staggering. Around the world 17 times. And to the moon and 40% back. Anyway, that presents a picture of an organization that has a major supply chain challenge and logistical challenge, also marketing and so on. So we talk about an organization with many layers of project management, and obviously a good reason to put a lot of effort and investment into improving their project management and portfolio analytical processes. So the Gartner project and portfolio management maturity model is presented here on the slide. Lego acknowledged that they're around about level 2, possibly around the level 3 initial integration level now, but they do aspire to be around about level 4. And if you remember back to the Gartner slide earlier, there is that big gap between level 2 and level 3. I urge you to look into this across resources on the net yourselves, but Lego did present a serious journey that they are on to improve their project management maturity over the coming years. What they understood was it's a stepwise process implementation, and life can always be understood backwards a lot easier. And if we look at that, that's like the time management function within our products we use for project management. We have the actuals in our system. We can then reflect on how we've tracked against what was planned, and we can make some assessments of our performance. That's sort of going backwards though. And in reality, life must be lived forwards. And that's where Microsoft are investing a lot of their future in the product set, resource planning. They alluded to this investment they're making. I'm interested myself personally to see what they come up with. There are some other vendors at the moment who have come up with great resource analytical tools, and I'll show you one shortly in the booth highlights. But Lego did present a great journey forward. And how they were to achieve this was introducing a monthly focus on prioritizing projects. That was quarterly, but they have changed that to monthly. And it's a continual reassessment. So each project, each month is under the Microsoft, and some projects that were in flight are reassessed to make sure or ensure that they are still aligning to the current strategic objectives of the organization. So another quick poll. So what CMMI maturity level is your PMO currently at? I'll just open up the poll. There we go. So level 1 through to 5. Some of you who aren't working within a PMO, I guess could ignore this poll, but I can see some responses coming back now. Oh, over 50% have voted, which is great. Representative, we have some attendees today working within busy PMOs, and I have to say I've been involved with working in amongst PMOs over the last decade, and they are a part of an organization that is getting more focus and more importance as years go by. Great, all right, well thanks for that. The output of that is that most PMOs, 83% are at level 2, with 17% at level 3. But as expected, there's nothing past level 4 at this stage, at least within the audience today. So thank you for that. I'll close that poll. Good to see. All right, I am conscious of the time, so I have to get through these a little bit faster. So real world reports, BI and Project Online, Project Server. So this is a technical session highlight. Presenters were Mike McLean and Andrew Levinsky, both great presenters, particularly Andrew. He's always a character. He's a frequent presenter at Microsoft conferences around the world. So one of the things I highlighted was there was a new tool called LINQPad. Well, it's actually not new, but its application now has been brought forward and more important now that there's an OData focus now within Project Online. So OData connection managers, how do we get our URL? How do we get data from these OData data sources? Well, I would recommend you Bing LINQPad and version 4. And it's a great tool they presented that what you can do is you can put in a SQL-like query. You can first of all obviously nominate your endpoint, your OData endpoint, and what it will produce is your URL with all the custom filters built into the URL. Very, very handy for saving time. And you would add that to your Excel workbook or published Excel services sheet, and or your Visual Studio environment, and you can then present data quite easily. One of the things they did mention was the introduction of what's known as the Microsoft Power BI for Office 365. This is a new suite of tools or capabilities that have been, they're in preview mode now for Office 365. I urge you to go along to the Microsoft site to look at more information about those. What comes with them though is three main areas. So if you look on the left there, we've got Discover, Analyze and Visualize, and it's really focusing on the Excel application. Excel being one of those desktop applications that offers so much value for reporting and analysis of information. So the three main areas, Discover and Combine, Analyze and Model, and Visualize and Explore. So first of all, around the Discover and Combined area, we're looking at a new technology called Power Query. So Power Query will allow a report designer to enter search keywords to translate to a structured query behind the scenes, and this would then retrieve the raw data from internal applications within your organization, or if you have your query exposed out to the web, you can then draw the information from the web as well. So it's trying to bring what we're familiar with search engine technology, to, very familiar keywords and so on, to now produce back-end structured SQL queries to retrieve data. Next we have Power Pivot, which has been around for quite some time, but it does allow the report designer to configure a reporting model from various data sources and present a platform for fast analysis of this associated data. So we can bring together lightning fast data from all over the place, and that becomes our model, and all our reports can then feed off this model. And obviously within the model we can have additional measures and create new hierarchies of the data, and also build in some KPIs as well. So Power Pivot's something that is certainly here to stay, offers a huge amount of value in the BI space. And then finally the Power View tool, again great for visualizing data. This can be published through as a SharePoint, comes across as a Silverlight control, and in the future there was mention that there will possibly be an HTML5 equivalent app that will host Power View apps in the future. One of the neat features is that you can also export a Power View control to PowerPoint, assuming it was originally hosted within SharePoint. And once it's in PowerPoint, it also becomes a live dynamic window to the live data that you would have seen just in SharePoint alone. Great thing about Power View is it offers a view of time-phased data, so you can actually play videos or like a time-phased scene-by-scene view of chunks of data per month or per year across a time phase, a timeline. Again, Power View, I urge you to look more into that. It has been around for a little while, probably about 18 months, but it is a much more polished offering now with full integration with SharePoint. All right, next we have, racing through these session highlights now. Session highlight number 5. So now we're looking at the app world, and there's two sessions that we're focusing on apps. The first one was around the desktop extensibility with Eli and Dan from Microsoft and Sensei. What they presented was the content app model and the contextual app model, both of those offering a huge amount of value for building apps in the future. And the project desktop application sits sort of in the middle of there, and there's a task pane on the right-hand side of our project client. I'll just go to the next slide that builds that out. So now we have an interactive experience sitting next to the document. We can select a task within project, and we can make reference to that selection within our task pane. So this allows app developers to now build the client-side tools to perhaps elaborate on more information that was selected from a task or a work package within our project schedule or plan. It might list a whole lot of associated risks and issues based on that particular task or work package. But it does open up the door for app developers to now have a local managed application with client-side tools. So apps for projects, so we're looking at task pane apps, the main supported area. Apps can read project data from the document itself, and this model applies not just to project, the desktop application, but also all the other Office applications as well. There's data settings persistent through local storage, which is great. The apps loaded by the user are not tied to an MPP file, so when you save your project file off, it does not save the application off as well. There's specific project set of APIs, and with these APIs we have methods that reference tasks, resources, views, and project containers, as mentioned there. Also, there's event handle as well, so we can sense an event that's triggered. So, for example, the task selection has changed. Another apps-related session was one that was presented by Martin Laukkanen from Near Baseline. Just recently departed from EPM Partners, but he had a great session. And what he presented during his session, which was around extending Project Online and on-premise apps with JavaScript, he presented a model for building applications in the future. It was a fully, I should say, an end-to-end model, and it went through all the layers of an application. So you could use this as a foundation for building any other types of applications in the future. He did revisit some of the core concepts, so server-side versus client-side. Server-side project server interface was designed for server-side, so deploying DLLs to servers. Whereas the new client-side application model is about client-side object model and JavaScript object model offering client-side processing only. Full trust versus sandbox versus the cloud app model. Server-side solutions deployed with DLLs, as I mentioned. The client-side apps run separately and required no local installs. This is great for deployment. There's the introduction of the Office store for apps, so the App Store, and also the local store as well. So your organization can have its own local private app store. Also the SharePoint 2013 app model options. We've got the SharePoint provider or auto-hosted. If you are a developer, I'd certainly urge you or recommend highly to bing those terms and look into all the information about those two models. There's probably not enough time, well, there is not enough time today to go through those. There's a SharePoint hosted model that allows only JavaScript object model to be accessed, but the provider auto-hosted can also support CSOM and JSOM. So some of the benefits using JavaScript. So we're doing more with less code. There are a whole lot of libraries out there that we can leverage, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Also, as well as pre-written code, we've got open standards that we're using. It's an asynchronous paradigm we're developing within now, and it's quick and easy debugging. We're using browsers and Visual Studio to do our debugging. what Martin presented was his own bulk edit application. It's currently free. It's 100% written in JavaScript, and using Ajax to update hundreds of project fields at once. And if you're familiar with updating project fields on bulk, there's not a lot of opportunity prior to these apps emerging now to actually do that within Project Server. And you can download it now from the SharePoint App Store. Also, during the session, he did present the full end-to-end working model of this holiday sync app. So this is another application of a challenge we have within our industry of using Project Server within our organizations. How do we easily synchronize holidays across our enterprise calendars within Project Server? This particular app reaches out to a web service that hosts a whole lot of calendars or public holidays per country, and then we can selectively choose the holidays we want to publish to our enterprise calendars, and certainly shaves a lot of time off otherwise mundane calendar exceptions. Right, so another quick poll. Are you interested in app development for Microsoft Project and or SharePoint? Let's make this live. So just quick yes or no. There is a lot of energy within the app development space at the moment within Microsoft. SharePoint and the whole app model has really just exploded this interest, and I think I would guess at around about a third of the presentations mentioned or was heavily focused on the content around app development. So, thanks for that. Looks like more than a third of us today are interested in app development. So that's great. That's reflective of the same energies that was had at the conference. Now I'll quickly go through some of the booths. Now I've only got 10 minutes remaining, but first of all, let's look at FluentPro. Now I've had the pleasure of being in contact with the guys at FluentPro for many years now, and I think my pick of nifty products at the conference was their FluentPro formulas. If you're familiar with deploying Project Server and the configuration of the enterprise custom fields, you will at some point realize there are limitations. One of those is integrating with other systems, and we can think of these this product FluentPro formulas as enterprise custom fields on steroids. We can now, through the custom field formula box, reach out to a whole series of a whole series of functionality. So what they've done is they've extended what's able to be entered in the formula box. So there's a whole extended API. So we can generate new unique project IDs with prefixes. We can categorize projects based on schedule size. So we can do a look of how many tasks within projects to determine what we want to surface up as a project level custom field called project category, for instance. We can count the number of highly influential risks on projects to give an impact rating. There's the ability to access external web services through this approach as well, so we can reach out to other line of business systems. But for me, the exciting thing was, which is on the slide, the screenshot behind, we can create direct SQL queries to back-end databases, and this assumes the auth of the local service account project server is running under, but we can now access other line of business systems if the data of those systems is sourced in a database of some kind. So that's a great tool for product information, licensing and costs. I urge you to go to the FluentPro website, fluentpro.com, I believe. Again, there is another FluentPro product as the booth highlight number 2. EPM Pulse has been around for a while. I cannot emphasize enough how much value this provides. With this, you can build BI dashboards with ease. It is drag and drop, real-time data updates as well. So you embed a dashboard you've created within a web page. Once it's embedded, and that can be a PDP or a project site landing page, it is just leveraging off SharePoint web parts. But it has real-time data updating, so it'll refresh the data based on changes happening in your environment. It has many pre-built charts and dashboard templates for even just a business user to get value out of this right away. Also, great nifty thing is to have the ability to present this in full screen. So within a meeting or a presentation forum, you can bring up on the full screen the full dashboards, which you can interact with, and again, they have real-time data. So that was EPM Pulse. Well, there's another few screenshots here. I'll just allow you a moment to have a quick look at those. Great examples of some charting capability within SharePoint and Project Server surfacing here. So third booth highlight was from a company called Sensei, and they're in the business of developing apps for the project platform. They presented what was called the project dashboard, and this was an example of what I mentioned earlier, the task pane being utilized in Project Professional. Now this task pane presents very graphically and summarizes all information that's happening about your project. So first of all is a project overview that accesses the project's key metrics. There's a task overview as well where you can quickly identify tasks that may require attention. There's a summary around documents and issues, risks and deliverables. But a great example of a company doing some good app work and presenting something that's quite usable and offering a lot of value to project managers. And finally, there was ProSymmetry, and I touched on this earlier with, first of all, in the keynotes it was mentioned that there's a bigger focus on resource management in the future. ProSymmetry, an organization, have come up with a product called Tempus, and this is the resource management function. Now, this product, what it does, it snapshots all the data within, in this case, Project Server, and provides that data offline, and they have they analyze and process this data and optimize it to give you a view or a lens of the resource view of this data. There are some capability within Project Server out of the box, but what they provide with this Tempus-R tool is a fully interactive, dynamic listing of projects at the top. They've got a heat map of broken down by department or resource down the bottom to see which resource areas or individual resources are over-allocated or under-allocated. Great thing is you can do simulation and capacity optimization. You can create a whole lot of different scenarios and seeing which scenarios are best aligned to getting the most project value at a certain point in time. So I urge you to have a look at the ProSymmetry site. They've got a whole lot of great products there that using the model of offline analysis of corporate data to help the decision-making process. So that was the conference. Here's the team of us from EPM Partners that attended. We certainly had a great time there for the week. We did some things after hours as well. Saw some ice hockey. The Microsoft project conferences around the world, they put on a very slick event, Microsoft, and recommend you all, if you have a chance, to go along. Now, the quick results, the coffee grinder, well, a lot of people guessed it. It actually didn't go. Now, it could be representative of people working so hard in the office here that they don't need coffee. There's too many other important things to do. But seeing that we finished this session this morning or this afternoon, I think I might go and have a coffee myself. So thanks everyone for your time today. I hope this gave you an insight into the project conference. I certainly enjoyed it. I go along every year or whenever it's on for the social aspect and also importantly the content they deliver, both technical and business content. Also just to mix in with the Microsoft product team. The people who are in the project product team itself attend these conferences. They are the speakers at the sessions, and they're very approachable, and it's a good opportunity to offer some suggestions of where we want to take this great product set in the future, but also to hear as well where the product's going in the future as well. Thanks everyone for your time, and we'll call it a wrap.